Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. This is a very special episode because we have a little explaining to do, and we brought in somebody to explain the WNBA Draft Lottery to us because it is a little confusing. Terrika Foster-Brasby, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Alicia. Thanks for having me, girl. Of course.
Well, before we get into our conversation about this draft lottery, I just want to say if you have not subscribed, please do so. There's so many ways to connect with us. You see us all of the ways below. But if you aren't subscribed, if you're not connected, if you're not tapped in, you're not going to get these episodes like this. We have episodes that drop every single week, but we also have special ones that just kind of come out the blue when they need to. So make sure that you subscribe, like, comment, share, do all of the things. We're also going to have this QR code that you can scan right here just to get to us directly. And especially, sometimes you don't want to watch us, which I don't understand because why would you not want to see our faces? However, you can also listen to us on all of your favorite podcast platforms so that we, can get all this information to you. So make sure that you're subscribed, connected, all the things. We love all your comments. We love talking with you, and we love being connected with you right here on We Need to Talk Now. And right now, we are going to get into this WNBA Draft Lottery with Terrika Foster-Brasby. This year, the lottery is going to be on Sunday. So this Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And the Los Angeles Sparks, Dallas Wings, Chicago Sky, and Washington Mystics are going to be a part of this draft. And when I was looking at everything, I was like, hold on, we need an expert to come in and talk about this because my eyes are crossing just looking at all the little things that are going on within this draft lottery rather and around it. So, Terrika, can you just explain to us what's going to go on with this draft lottery?
I will do my best. I don't know if expert is the right word, but we gonna make it happen today, right?
I mean, I feel you are. So claim it.
It is what it is. Alicia said it, so it is what it is. So very simply, you have your 4 teams who have the worst combined record over the last 2 years. So that right there is what kind of makes the WNBA a little different than some other draft lotteries, but it's based off the last 2 years, the last 2 seasons. So if you had a poor record in 2023 and 2024, those 4 teams are the 4 teams who will be looking at the top 4 draft picks for 2025. This year, those 4 teams are the Los Angeles Sparks, the Dallas Wings, who am I missing? The Chicago Washington Mystics and the Chicago Sky. And so if we're looking at how each team is decided on who gets what picks, everyone is given a 4-number combination, right? So there will be 4 balls that will be dropped into this little lottery thing, this thing that'll just like spin. And when the 4 balls are chosen, if your combination is the combination that's chosen, that's where you will fall in the draft. Now, only the first 2 picks are chosen through this lottery system. The 3rd pick in the draft goes to the team that had the worst record of the last 2 years, who did not receive the top 2 the picks. And then the 4th pick is the only team that's left. This year, it is incredibly interesting, right? It's incredibly interesting because throughout the course of the year, trades happen and people do all types of situations. And now this year in particular, a trade that happened during the season is actually going to come back to bite one of the teams in the lottery. So you have the team that has the worst overall record of the last 2 years, and that's the LA Sparks. They currently have the best odds at getting the number 1 draft pick. They have of the 1,000 combinations that you could get of these 4 different random numbers, they have a 442 combinations that could come out for LA. Then for 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are actually tied with both Chicago and Dallas. They both have a 31 and 49 record over the last 2 seasons. So they're in a tie, which means they technically both get the same amount of combinations, which was 227. So 227 combinations could come out. That could be for either Dallas or Chicago. But here's the thing. The thing is, Chicago owes Dallas a first-round draft pick. So if Dallas ends up getting the number 1 draft lottery, if their number comes out and then they get the number 1 pick, awesome. But if Chicago gets the number 1 draft pick, they don't get to keep their draft pick. They have to give their pick to Dallas. So technically, while they both have the same amount of odds individually, because Dallas has to give their number 1 pick to, because Chicago has to give their number 1 pick to Dallas, Dallas actually has the second best odds of being the team to get the number 1 overall pick. And then lastly, there is the Washington Mystics, who have the least amount of odds of all 4 of the teams. So I get it can be confusing, but realistically, we should look at it as if it is LA, Dallas, Chicago, and Washington as it relates to odds.
As it relates to the odds. And then essentially, Dallas is rooting for Dallas and Chicago at the same time.
Yeah. They don't
because they know no matter what.
Yeah, either way it go, if our numbers are called, if Chicago's number is called, we get the number 1 pick either way. So I know they don't even care.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm not mad if I'm them this year at all. Like, let's go. Period. I think the confusing part when I look at this whole thing, the confusing part to me is the actual picking of the numbers. I'm just like, okay, there's what was there, like 14 balls, you're picking 4 each. If you get the code, then that depends on where you fall.
Yep.
In the lottery. So it's like, why so many balls? Why so many picks?
Like, why so many picks?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the part that's confusing. But I guess suffice it to say that no matter what, the people who are really sitting pretty the most, even though Los Angeles has the best odds, I would say, but the people who are sitting pretty is the Wings, really, in this whole situation.
The Wings, absolutely. Like, individually, you're right. LA has the best odds. They have like a 44% chance of winning. But when you combine Dallas's chances with Chicago's chances, that puts them actually a bit more ahead of LA, maybe like 45, 46% chance to get the number 1 overall pick. So Dallas is really sitting in a good position to walk away with something important. The thing is, Chicago ain't had a number 1 pick in the draft before. So
I mean, that would be the worst. Yeah.
Right. And it's quite sad that if the one time you get the number 1 overall draft pick, you can't even keep it, that would just be so diabolical on so many levels.
Absolutely.
But it's possible.
Yeah, Chicago's definitely feeling a little sick right about now, I would say, for sure, with how it's going out, especially, you know, with Paige Bueckers, everyone's saying she's going number 1. I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, it's not confirmed, obviously, with the way that things go and everything, but it's a lock, right? That Paige, if she were to be there, she'd be number 1, period. Right. And so when you think about Paige Bueckers, or she will be there, but that she would come out number 1, period. When you think about Paige, you know, we could say like, well, who do we hope gets number 1, right? We could say that a lot of people have kind of forecasted that or based on the odds. But what I want to know right now is which one of these teams needs Paige the most, Terrika?
Yeah, I think of all the teams, I feel like Dallas or Washington would be the 2 that need her the most, right? I think about LA, and LA would be, I've called LA like a sexy destination, right? And not just because it's LA, like for obvious reasons, it's LA. But, you know, if you're a coach, because let's keep in mind, LA still don't have a coach yet, right? So if you're a coach, you have Rickea Jackson and Cameron Brink, who were number 2 and number 4, respectively, last year. So you've got a solid core already with those 2. And granted, Cameron didn't get to finish her season due to an ACL injury, but you already know what you're getting with her. We saw glimpses of that before she was injured. We saw what Rickea Jackson can bring. You have an MVP player in Terrika Hamby. So you have a leader. And And the one thing that this team was missing that they kind of got towards the end of the season with Odyssey Sims was a point guard. And Odyssey Sims is incredible, right? But you could see how different this team was when they had a point guard. So adding a Paige Bueckers to that team is a sexy destination. Like, you'd have your core three for some years, right? But I think you can also argue, because they have Rakia and because they have Cam and because they have the Erica, they have an opportunity, if the rest of their team is healthy, whatever that team looks like, they have an opportunity to be pretty good. So I wouldn't necessarily say they need that they need Paige, but having her would be amazing, right? I think
it would be huge. It would be huge. Yeah.
It'd be huge. But I think what makes Dallas and Washington a bit of a part for me is the need for, one, a superstar, and two, the need for what the rest of your team could fill out around her, right? Dallas is a team that has a point guard in Arike Ngumbuale, but there is gonna most likely be no Satu. There's most likely not gonna be a Natasha Howard. This team looks like it was well on its way up at the end of last season, and this season injuries and other things plagued them to where they were once again one of the worst teams in the league, didn't even crack a double-digit win column. I think they had 9 wins on the season overall. The thing is that this Dallas team has received top draft picks quite often over the last few years and just has not been able to make something stick. They have not been able. Matter of fact, the last time they had the number 1 overall draft pick, they chose Charlie Collier, and she's not even in the league anymore, right? So it's difficult to find success with this Dallas team. And if you're Paige Bueckers, while you don't have an opportunity to choose where you're going to go, presuming that she's the number 1 pick, you feel like you want to go to a team where you feel like you have a great chance of winning. And I don't know if you feel that way if you don't have 2 players who are very instrumental in what we thought would make this team an incredible team, and what helped to make this team a number 4 overall team in 2023, right? But if you're Dallas, you want Paige Bueckers. You want this superstar. You want this leader. You want this proven person. And UConn has a great track record in the WNBA. It's a program that has built players. They know what to expect. They transition well. We saw that this year with Aaliyah Edwards, and I'm going to get to her in a moment. So
I was just going to say that's already. That synergy.
So we on the same page. Exactly. So as you can see, Dallas could certainly use a Paige Bueckers, but Washington, you have Aaliyah Edwards, a teammate of Paige Bueckers, whom you've already seen before. They also need a true point guard, someone who can not only score for them, but facilitate for them and play well on both ends of the court. You have that. She's playing alongside Aaliyah, would be very familiar for her. So it makes the process of putting together what that roster would look like from a schematic standpoint a little bit easier. You lost Natasha Cloud. That was your guard. You have had injury issues with Brittany Sykes. You still got Ariel Atkins there. You don't know what Elena Deladon is going to do, although you still have rights. She's on a sabbatical, so we don't know if she's playing. This Mystic team, while having the worst odds, could use her probably the most, right? And so that's, I think, where we kind of feel, where I think it's a toss-up between either of those two. But it's a very sticky situation because 2 of these teams don't have head coaches. And so, 3, excuse me, LA doesn't have a head coach. Dallas just hired Kurt Miller to be their general manager, but they have yet to hire a head coach. And Washington let go of their general manager and their head coach. So I think that kind of complicates things because you don't know who's going to be leading those teams. And it is equally as important to me to know who your coach is going to be, as well as who your players are going to play for. Like, that dynamic is going to be important. So this is a mess, Alicia.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at the Wings, right, they have deeper problems than just the players on the team. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in that front office. They do have, some exciting things coming, like practice facilities and things of that nature that every team has kind of had to step up and do. But there's still something going on. I mean, like even Howard, you know, she's a free agent this year. She even already said, like, basically, like, I'm looking forward to the next step. I'm not quoting her directly, but it was something along those lines. So it, you know, just with their history and what we see, if I'm Paige, I don't necessarily want to go to the Wings, if I'm being completely honest, right? And then going with the Mystics, there's some opportunity there for her, especially when we talk about Aaliyah Edwards, you know, and the play that they already have together. There's I think the players themselves are hungry to win. The players that are playing there, the players, you know, we kind of saw that in the last stretch of the season. Not, you know, I didn't think their overall season was indicative of the last stretch that they had. So I think there's a lot of promise there that Paige could come in and really help, like, right away. They need a franchise leader as well. And I think I could definitely see her being that person in the future. But yo, if I'm Paige, I'm trying to go to LA, like all the way. When you look at the players that are on that team, I know that they don't have a coach right now, but the city, the players, everything that Paige is already doing, I just see her fitting right into that city as well. And we all know that is a huge part of why players are trying to go now. It's not just about the play in the team for everybody. So, and just with, you know, her personal brand that she's building and everything, I could just see her fitting in really well with the Sparks, and I can see them benefiting off of her the most. So listen, I mean, I agree. And I didn't even mention the Sky, but that was no shade, but I just like those were the top three for me as well. So
it's definitely no shade to Chicago. Like I don't see Paige as a fit in Chicago currently. Right. But I will say that I'm excited about the direction for Chicago. They just recently hired Tyler Marsh to be their head coach. They still have Angel Reese, who is obviously going to be an exciting player. Camila Cardoso should be healthier next year. So there is a lot to be excited about when it looks to Chicago basketball. And the draft is going to be helpful to continuing to build that roster. And, you know, we didn't really talk about this, but I just want to also throw out there that we do have another team this year, the Golden State Valkyries. And granted, majority of their team will be filled out through the expansion draft, but they will automatically get the number 5 overall pick in this year's draft. So there's another team out there that, you know, who knows, you know, what that may look like and how that team can shake out to be competitive to what everybody else has going on. But ultimately, I agree. There was no shade with Chicago whatsoever as it relates to Paige. I just don't think that that's a team that desperately needs her more than Dallas or Washington. However, I agree that LA has to be the, you know, preferred destination.
Yeah, that would be like the storybook, you know, writing, you know, for Paige. I feel like going into that. You mentioned the Valkyries and expansion team. I actually think they have the ability to pick an amazing squad with all the free agents that are out there. I know that teams have the ability to protect certain players on their team as they should. But when I look at the free agents, I'm like, yo, the Valkyries could build a squad coming out the gate right away. And, you know, the expansion teams are obviously so exciting. You know, Toronto's on the way. We have the Valkyries coming up. And a lot of NBA players are, and how could I forget Portland? I'm from Portland. Excuse me. Don't hurt me, y'all. Don't hurt me, y'all. Portland's on the way too. But when, you know, you're looking at kind of the scope and all the news that's surrounding the WNBA right now, a lot of NBA players are pushing for expansion teams in different places. You know, recently, Jayson Tatum said that he wants to bring the WNBA to St. Louis. So, like, literally, he's saying $200 million in the bid. So, I mean, he's serious about this. KD was talking about one in Austin, and the list goes on and on. What are your thoughts on, you know, all of these NBA players wanting to be a part of WNBA expansion?
I'm here for it 100% because I'm one who thinks that you should put your money where your mouth is. And Jayson Tatum clearly clearly has the money with that $315 million contract that he just signed, right?
Okay.
So he clearly has the money and he's willing to put it where his mouth is, so much so to where he has also added two of the, you know, biggest business names and investors in Missouri to be a part of this group that he's putting together. So he's very serious about it. I think Jayson Tatum knows what it means to build a winning culture basically from what he's, you know, been as a leader in Boston. And I think that organization has clearly shown that they know what it means to win as one of the most winning franchises in the NBA. And I know also that he has a love and affinity for St. Louis. That's his hometown. He's from Missouri. And he wants to continue to push and advocate for women's sports as he has done oftentimes. I think this is great, right? I also think that Missouri is a decent place for a women's basketball club. I mean, when you look at Kansas City has a football team. The Chiefs have done well. They've got a baseball team. The Royals recently have done well, although that's all the Royals love I'm giving them because I'm a Tigers fan and we ain't giving the Royals no love. Okay.
Sorry. Only a little. if that.
Okay. But I say all that to say that there is a fan base. There's a fan base there, right? So and I also think it's important to consider when you're looking at where you want to expand a franchise to, that the city needs to be a place that can not necessarily accommodate like players from a number standpoint, but can literally accommodate their lifestyle. This is a league that is full of Black and brown women who identify a lot who identify with the LGBTQIA plus community. It is going to be important that wherever we are, and these women have to live there, that they can provide a lifestyle for themselves that won't cause them to be discriminated against, or that the rules of the land won't, you know, interfere with it, that they won't be, you know, those kinds of things, right? And I know we're not going to like get too far off in it, but I just think it's important that you have to consider those things when you're thinking about moving a franchise like the WNBA to any city. So I know all those things will be considered, but I to the main question, I think this is a great move. I applaud Jayson Tatum for being willing to put up that amount of money in order to be serious and show that he's serious about, you know, a life-changing opportunity for not only a lot of women who want to have a league to play in, but also kind of setting the standard for other players that if you're serious about wanting to invest in women's sports, if you're serious about wanting to help grow this league, this is the way to do it.
Absolutely. And we talk about investment. This is true investment in women. This is true investment in the WNBA. And, you know, putting 200 million up, people are like, well, he's an NBA player. He has a lot of money. No, that's a lot of his money.
It is a lot of his money. Yes.
A lot of his money. And so, you know, I completely agree with you that there needs to be a lot of consideration around where a NBA team is expanded or where they are planted, because, you know, that matters just as much as if you think there's going to be an audience. Like, safety is a definite concern, especially in the climate of our world right now. So, you know, that has to be taken into account. But I love to see that all these NBA players see, number one, that this is an amazing investment and that they want to be a part of it. It's almost like, I'm not saying there's too many choices, but it's beautiful to have this many people want to be a part of it and this many choices to have. It is important to know that a lot of this has arisen because there was a rule that was changed that would allow NBA players who are currently playing to invest only teams that, and they can only invest in teams that do not share ownership with an NBA team. So a lot of these cities that you're seeing, you know, they don't have NBA teams in them. And so they're allowed to pitch this. And then also each individual player can't own more than 4%. And the NBA players combined can't own more than 8%. So if there's more than one NBA investor, you know, they have to make sure that when that ownership is there, that is the percentage. So listen, come on in. Come on in, NBA. Let's
Right,
go.
right. And while I was shouting out St. Louis, I would be remiss not to mention the Cardinals and the St. Louis Blues, because I don't want nobody coming for me talking about you didn't mention my. You right. We apologize. Oh, I'm just simply trying to say St. Louis is a sports town. Okay, guys, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't want no smoke. Okay, we don't want no smoke. This is all love. This is all love. We're trying to get a WNBA team there. Let's go. Well, listen, we're definitely going to be in tune for this draft lottery that is happening on Sunday. And we're definitely going to keep watch over these expansion teams and the NBA players that are investing, because it's all important and it's all interesting. And, you know, I just love to see it on every single level. So another thing I love to see is you. It's been a long time since we saw each other. And, you know, thank you so much for coming on and being our expert today, because you are, period.
Oh, I'm going to take it and I'm going to own it. So there it is. Thanks.
All right. Well, of course. And I mean it. But yes, thank you guys for listening. Please, you know, leave your comments below about the draft lottery, and then the WNBA draft lottery, and then also all of the expansion that we are just hoping and praying for with these NBA players, in addition to anyone else who wants to invest, because you should. So leave your comments. You know, we always love to interact with you and comment with you. And until next time, this is We Need to Talk Now, and we'll see you on the next show.